Good day all, Les here. This is going to be the first in a series of videos on the Volatility Master software settings. They're going to be designed to be watched in order, with this video being the first one. So I'll number them all so you know what order to watch them in. And they will take you through, each video will take you through just a selection of the settings because there are quite a few. But I'm going to try and make it so that this first video will tell you enough to get started. And then we'll go into some of the more, some of the settings that require a bit more in-depth explanations, and we'll do them as we progress through this series of videos. Alrighty, let me share my screen. All right, guys, here we are on a chart. We're just on gold here at the moment. Doesn't matter, I'm just going to show you the settings. Just click on, just to help you out, you can either click on the smiley face to bring up the settings, or you can also just right click anywhere in the chart, come down to Expert Advisors and click on Properties. Alrighty, let's go through. This first video will be enough to let you get started, and we're going to sort of go through the settings, just a couple in detail, but just an overview of all of them basically. Now the default settings are what you're looking at now. So when you purchase the software and you install it, these will be the default settings that come up. These default settings are the settings that are used for the US 30 Open. All you would need to adjust for yourself is the daily profit target and the daily equity protection. And obviously these are in dollars, so that's the target $3,000, and the equity protection to protect against larger loss is at $1,500. Now, depending on your account balance, obviously you will need to adjust those. Take profit is in points, so that's 25,000 points or 2,500 pips. This figure could also vary depending on your broker. There's two types of measurements. One would be 25,000. Some brokers would require you to have 2,500. So, divide that by 10 to get the figures, and that would be the same for all the pip distances or point distances in the settings. Now, this does happen to be a Pepperstone broker that I'm on, and they do require you to drop a 0 on all of the pip prices. Everybody's going to be using different brokers, so you just have to work out for yourself what distance you need to use. But for example, a take profit of 25,000, if I bring up a US 30 chart and I've got it on the 1 minute time frame, but even if I put it up to the 5 minute time frame and I measure how far 25,000 pips is, I measure from here and go down 25,000 pips, that there is 2,500 pips. 25,000 pips is going to be a long, long way. That far, there we go, that's 25,000 pips. So it's going to be that far that it's going to be obviously wrong. So it should be quite easy to work out what settings you do need to use. And as I said, on this particular broker, which is Pepperstone, you do need to, as we just showed, to drop a 0. And we need to drop a 0 on the take profit because that's in points. The stop loss, the trailing stop loss, sorry, that's also in points, so we would have to drop a 0. The stop loss in points, we'd have to drop a 0. The max stop loss, we would have to drop a 0. The profit lock settings, they are also in points, so we would have to drop a 0 and drop a 0. I'm not going to get into exactly what all the settings do in this video, but just quickly, if we come all the way down, the partial close settings are also in points, so we would have to drop a 0 on that one, and this one we would have to drop a 0 on that one. Most brokers, I would say, you won't need to drop the 0, but as I said, if you just measure a distance on your chart, it will be quite obvious. The breakout is in pips, in points, so we need to drop a 0. Support resistance buff, also drop a 0. Second peak pref, we would need to drop a 0. Don't worry too much about what these settings actually are at the moment. It's not important at the moment for you to know that. And that is all the settings that you would possibly need to drop the 0 on. Now, jumping back up here to the settings and explaining a few. Daily profit target. That is what's going to happen is if you were to make $3,000 for the day, if your equity went up by $3,000, it would close all open trades and stop trading for the day. And then the next day, it would automatically reset and start trading again. It would also print roughly here on the chart. It would come up in red saying target hit, so you'd know what was going on. The other one is the daily equity protection. And this is to stop you from, minimizing any losses for the losing days. And it's set for $1,500. So from the start of the day, if your equity went down by $1,500, the software is going to close all the open trades and stop trading for the day. And it will come up here in red saying EP hit, so you know what's going on. Now, take profit in points. That's pretty obvious. That's just a simple take profit that gets set exactly, in this case, 2,500 points away from where the trade was placed. Trailing stop loss. A trailing stop loss is simply a stop loss that will, once your trade's in profit, it will trail along behind to lock profit in. You can find plenty of info anywhere you like about exactly what a trailing stop loss is, but this is exactly that, so it shouldn't be too confusing. Stop loss points, 50. Now, this one does require a little explanation. What we have on the chart here, we have this red line and the blue line, which is just indicating the top and the bottom of the range that we're trading. And what the software does is it'll trade, if it breaks below, it'll do sell orders. If it breaks above, it'll do buy orders. So that's one of the basic triggers for trading with Volatility Master. And what the stop loss points does is if the market broke below and it placed a trade right here, a sell order right here, it would place the stop loss 50 points above this red line. So it's going to place the stop loss 50 points above the range, and vice versa for a buy order. If it breaks above, it will place a stop loss below the blue line. So that's what the 50 points means, 50 points above or below the range. Max stop loss, you can set a maximum distance that it will potentially place a stop loss, meaning that if the distance between these, if it placed a sell order here and to where the stop loss was going to get placed was more than 1,000 points, it wouldn't place it there. It would only place it 1,000 points. That's what max stop loss does. Order size, that is your lot size. So that's the size of your trade. By default, it's set at the smallest possible trade size. Now, depending on your broker, and particularly with indices like US 30, your broker may have a minimum lot size greater than 0.01. So you would have to change it to the broker's minimum at least. This risk percentage setting, this we've set it at 1%, and that will calculate up here for you on the chart, telling you what lot size to use to accrue a 1% risk. So in this case, if you were to use, and I've got this listed to 3 decimal points, even though a lot size will only go to 2 decimal points. So in this case, it's 0.014. So you could choose yourself. You could either use 0.01 or 0.02. If you use 0.1, that would be risking less than 1%. If you went to 0.2, it would be risking more than 1%. Now, this is based off assuming that the stop loss was placed at the max stop loss distance. Okay, quite often, the stop loss will be placed closer than that. So the risk will, more often than not, depending on your settings, be less than 1% risk if you use that lot size. Now, there is another video. I'm not putting it on this particular video, but probably the next one. If not the one there, it'll be the next one. How you can set this up so the software automatically chooses a lot size for you based off your risk setting and the balance of your account. Oh, actually, it's very, very simple. We'll put it in this video. The order size we have set at 0.01. This will mean that every single trade that gets placed will be 0.01. All right. If we set this to 0, the software will automatically calculate the lot size needed to assume a 1% risk. So it's going to use your account balance and how far away the stop loss is being placed to determine the correct lot size. So in this case, the lot size will vary all the time, but the risk will always be 1% per trade. So every trade you lose would be 1%. The input magic number, that's nothing you need to worry about. That's just how the software identifies its own trades. Profit lock and profit lock activate. What this means in this case is once that trade gets into 400 points of profit, it's going to move the stop loss so that the stop loss is in 100 points of profit. So if we had a sell order here and the stop loss was up here, once this trade gets down to here and it's in 400 points of profit, it's going to move the stop loss from here down to here to lock in that little bit of profit. And at that stage, that trade is essentially risk-free. And once that happens to a trade, and it's a risk-free trade, then the software is able to start looking for another trade opportunity. So it'll be able to stack a second trade and a third trade, potentially even more. But at no stage will you ever have more than 1% of your account at risk, because it won't place a second trade until the first trade is risk-free. And then it won't place a third trade until the first 2 trades are both risk-free. So that's one of the most, I don't know what the word is, one of the best features of the software is that it's able to stack multiple trades in place without ever risking any extra money. So if you've got one trade, you have 1% at risk. If you have 2 trades in play, you still only have 1% at risk because the second one never gets placed until the first one is risk-free. So that's how it can stack multiple trades without actually increasing the risk. And minutes per trade, that just means it can't place more than one trade every 4 minutes, which rarely would ever happen anyway. Max open at once, so you can set the maximum amount of trades that it can open on any one pair at any one time. Generally, though, if it stacks 3 trades, then you're probably going to be hitting your profit target anyway. So it's 3 trades can happen. 4 trades would be extremely rare. And unless you had really wild settings with huge take profit distances and that, you would never get more than 4 anyway. These settings are all the time settings. So we've got a start and end time for every day of the week. Now, US 30 only ever trades for 5 days, weekdays, so we have it set. And this is one you need to listen to because it does require a little explanation. 1,000, what that's referring to is 1,000 minutes after the market opens that day. And the market opens at 0000 hours market watch time. Okay, now market watch time is going to be the same for everybody, no matter where they are in the world. So this is why we use market watch time. So it's the same for everybody. If somebody's in the UK trading, they would have the start time at 1,000 for the US 30 Open. If you're in Australia, it would still be 1,000 because it's 1,000 minutes after market watch time. So to calculate the current thing, we've got 5 hours and 9 minutes since the market opened today. 5 hours by 60 would be 300 minutes plus 9 minutes. So currently it's 309 minutes since the market opens. And so with the US 30 Open, we're trading 1,000 minutes after the market opens. And end time is calculated the same. In this case, it's 180 minutes higher than the start time, meaning we're trading a 3-hour window each day. So that's how the time parameters work. Partial close features. We have 2 partial close features. And what that does is, obviously, if you've got a larger trade, not using the minimum lot size, it will close a portion of that trade. So you might have a trade that's 1.0 lots, and then you might close a portion of it. You might just close 0.1 lots. So you would realize some profit from that 0.1 you closed. And now that trade that's left is only 0.9 lots. And it's simply going to do that by, once that trade gets into 800 points of profit, it's going to close this lot size. And then the second partial close kicks in at 1,500 points. So once you're in 1,500 points of profit, it's going to close this amount. And I just have them set at the minimum amount by the default settings. You can increase those if you like. All of the other settings for the moment are going to be left for a different video. All I will just share is that up here, it's just telling you the current 5-minute time frame trend, the 15-minute trend, and the 1-hour trend. These don't actually play any part in how the software trades. This is just a display for your personal, information. Likewise, down here, this is showing you the ADR for the last 20 days. So that's the average daily range, the highest daily range, and how far the market's moved so far today. This is only a display as well. This is just for your own personal information. doesn't play any part in how the software operates, at least not at this stage. I'm constantly updating these softwares, so bringing in new automations, new factors to improve the performance, and also new factors to suit different people's trading styles and know-how. There are some features in my softwares that I don't personally use myself, but I know that other people do like to have those features because they use them themselves. Now, not saying one way is better than the other, they're just two different ways, and I'm trying to make the softwares versatile so they suit everybody. Just here where it says target $3,000, that is because we have our daily profit target set at $3,000. So once a trade opens, this figure here will start to vary. If the trade's going into profit, this figure will get less. It'll count down, 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 down until it gets to zero. Once it gets to zero, that'll mean that you've made $3,000. So the daily profit target will kick in, close the trades, and it will come up saying target hit and stop trading for the day. Also, because we have our equity protection set at $1,500, if this figure got all the way up to $4,500, meaning $1,500 more than the starting value, that's when the equity protection would kick in and it would close all the trades and come up saying equity protection hit and stop trading for the day. All right, guys, that's it for the first installment of Volatility Master Settings. I'll see you in the second video on settings. There'll be several. This will probably be the longest one. We're going to just focus on specific settings that require a bigger explanation. But what you've learned in this video should be enough for you to get started. And then you can, watch any videos you haven't watched, ask any questions you have queries about, and start to fine tune your understanding of the software. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.